Welcome to my channel. My name is Danielle and this is my cancer journey. I am 30 years old. I am a mother of 2 children, Summer and Riley, ages 9 and 10. I have a computer science degree and a philosophy undergraduate degree. I currently have colon cancer and this is the beginning of my journey. Now I'm going to start by answering the question, why did I start this channel? Starting a YouTube channel is one of those things I've always wanted to do because I feel like it's a way to connect to other people in the world. People can find your story, people can connect to you if they feel like they resonate with you or they find some value in watching you and your journey and listening to your experience and what it is you have to offer to the world. And I think we all as individuals have something to offer. But I'm ultimately a very private person and that has been my biggest challenge. But I think in life we need to take the plunge on things that we might fear and challenge ourselves. Life's very short, extremely short, and if we're wasting it worried about other people's judgment and making decisions based off of that, we're going to miss out on doing a lot of things. Initially, I had a YouTube channel for makeup. I love YouTube. I find a lot of value out of it. There's a lot of things I've learned over the years and feeling like I've built relationships with people that I've watched and a connection. Even though they might never know who I am, it's a unique human experience that we're sharing together, and we have this technology and these platforms to connect and share our journey in hopes that we can help somebody else. And that's what I'm ultimately here to do, is try and help someone else because I've needed help. I've had a lot of questions before and had other people answer them for me. My makeup YouTube channel eventually died away. I think I posted maybe 7 or 8 videos and deleted them all because again, privacy and feeling like I was exposing myself in a very vulnerable way. That was probably in 2013. During this time, when I had my makeup channel, I was studying computer science and I wanted to create a unique channel where people could go and learn about IT and makeup and share in those passions together. I finished my computer science degree and went on to study philosophy, and I found a love and a passion for philosophy. So once I finished my undergraduate philosophy, I knew I wanted to continue and pursue graduate studies in philosophy. So I did that, and I continued to have this burning and a desire to have a YouTube channel where I would discuss makeup, philosophy, artificial intelligence, science, economics, politics, all of those things that I'm really passionate about. But again, you know, roadblocks I'm putting in my own way. I ended up having to leave my graduate studies because I fell quite ill in March 2020. I started to get extremely intense stomach pains. My bowel movements changed. I was feeling tired, sick, lethargic, nauseous. I've given birth to 2 children and this pain absolutely doesn't hold a candle. So I knew something was wrong, but I was persistent in trying to complete my thesis so I could move on to get my master's in philosophy. Fast forward to July. So fast forward to July 2020, I was still really sick and I just couldn't handle it anymore. I was tired. I thought something was absolutely wrong. So I decided to leave uni, which was a very challenging and difficult task. I had to email my lecturers, my professors, and let them know that I wasn't going to complete my thesis. I wasn't able to finish it. I was sick. I hadn't communicated to them one bit that I was sick since March because I thought it was stress related. I thought it was IBS. The doctors were telling me it's IBS, it's parasite infection. I'm dairy free. I've been dairy free for 4 years. I'm gluten free. So I had completely changed my diet to eliminate any factors of what I thought might have been causing this pain, this stomach issue. The last thing that I thought it could be was stress. So I thought, well, it wasn't the last thing I thought it could be. I guess it was the last thing I took action on, was trying to eliminate stress from my life. And I have 2 children, and so I had to sacrifice my studies because I needed to be functioning and available and healthy for my children. So I left my studies, and that was really difficult for me. So 2 months went by and I was still sick. The symptoms progressively got worse. I was passing blood in my stool. I was going to the toilet between 8 and 12 times a day. It was excruciatingly uncomfortable. It was excruciatingly uncomfortable and painful. So I persisted in going to the doctors. So if we go back to July, when I emailed my lecturers and I told them I can't continue my studies, I felt very heavy-hearted about that. And so when I continued to get sick, even still, after leaving uni and eliminating that stress from my life, you know, alleviating that pressure at least from due dates, assignments, hand-ins, obviously writer's block as well. I'm writing my own thesis, so I'm responsible of doing my own research, and the direction I was taking my thesis was arguing for privacy in healthcare using big data. So the ethics of the use of big data in healthcare, and whether or not we have a right to privacy or we should forego that privacy for the greater good. So this is what I was writing my thesis on, and was studying all sorts of philosophical ideologies about inequality in healthcare and understanding the New Zealand landscape of healthcare and big data sharing. What it is healthcare system, medical systems or corporations are looking to do with our personal data in the name of the greater good of healthcare. So that's just a very, very brief explanation, probably terribly bad explanation of what I was writing my thesis on. I am of the belief that we are foregoing too much of our privacy, and that with artificial intelligence it's going to generate the ability for companies and governments to place a heavy load of responsibility on the individual, given knowledge about, you know, how people exercise, what they're consuming, how often they're seeing doctors, things like that. So understanding how secondary use of data can be used against an individual under the umbrella of healthcare. But unfortunately, when you're sick and you're tired, you can't think straight. The last thing you want to do when you are sick and tired is read dense, heavy literature and philosophize. Even though I love doing that, I was just more stressed about trying to get a decent night's sleep. So that in mind, 2 months go by and I'm just not happy. I'm not satisfied with what the doctors have told me. It is not IBS, it is not stress, it is not to do with my diet, it is something else. And veins started to break out on the outside of my stomach, which was so unusual. And I just knew, I'm very in tune with my body, and I just understood that something was wrong. So after seeing multiple GPs and calling around trying to get some insight into who I might need to see and where I might need to go, because I thought, you know, maybe it was colitis, maybe IBS. So I was trying to talk to people about their experience with that. But the concern for me was the blood in my stool and the amount of blood that I was losing. So I ended up finding out about my family history of Lynch syndrome probably 6 or 7 weeks ago. And the only reason why that happened was because my auntie fell very ill and was confirmed with Lynch syndrome, and she managed to get a family geneticist to contact our family to all be tested. And this geneticist number had been passed on to me, and my sister had mentioned about my auntie being diagnosed with Lynch syndrome. And so I started to do some research on Lynch syndrome and understood that people with it have a high chance of getting colorectal cancer. So from that, I continued to push the GPs and told them about Lynch syndrome, my auntie being diagnosed with Lynch syndrome. And then it came to light that my uncle, who I knew had bowel cancer or colon cancer 8 years ago, but I had no idea that he had been diagnosed with Lynch. So the pieces of the puzzle were starting to fall together. And I finally got in touch with this geneticist, crying, and I said to her, the GPs aren't listening to me, there's something wrong, I'm in pain, I've had to drop out of uni, I'm really upset about it, my mental health is suffering because I know something is wrong and I'm being ignored, and my intuition and my gut, no pun intended, is telling me that something is very wrong. And she, because I had told the GP, I had done a stool test, I had done bloods, and they kept saying everything was normal. Maybe it was a parasite infection because I had a high white blood cell count. And so when I pushed and persisted to have a referral for a colonoscopy, and that was declined. So when I rang this lady, this family geneticist, I had told her this entire story, and I told her that my colonoscopy had been declined and I had been sent another, they had tried another referral, and I still hadn't heard anything. None of the doctors were calling me back. They would just send a text saying your test came back normal, and that was the end of it. And then it's silence, but you're sat there going, well, yeah, my test might be normal, but my body's not normal, there's still something wrong. I don't care if we've reached that dead end, we need to try and go down another path because there's something wrong. But the doctors, for some reason, just didn't maintain that mentality and weren't willing to push it further to figure out what was going on. Luckily, or fortunately, the geneticist that I had called rang the hospital straight away as soon as I got off the phone with her, and then within about 2 hours I had a call from the hospital booking my colonoscopy in, which I said to the lady on the phone, I've never been so happy. I never thought I would be so happy to get an appointment for a colonoscopy. Thank you so much. She must have thought it was absolutely nuts. But so the colonoscopy was booked for the 28th of September 2020, and the phone call, I probably got the phone call early September. So I had to wait about 28 days, which felt like forever. It felt like forever away. So I probably waited about a week before ringing the hospital again. Actually, no, maybe I got the call in August and I waited a week and a bit or 2 weeks before I rang the hospital because I got the letter in the mail. So whenever the letter arrived in the mail, I had all the details of my appointment on the 28th. I had the phone number of the department that I was going to get my colonoscopy in, and so I rang that number and I said to them, look, something's wrong, I'm passing a lot of blood, you need to please try and fit me in a little bit earlier, or can I please get on the cancellation list? And she was amazing and she said, yep, let me just see what I can do for you and I'll give you a call back. And within a couple of hours they called me back and had an appointment for me on the 15th of September 2020. So I was thrilled that I had my appointment brought forward 2 weeks, because it's the waiting game that's the real mental challenge, and that can, even though you're in pain and it's physically challenging, the mental challenge of waiting and wondering and letting your imagination run wild is very difficult. In fact, it can be quite traumatic, I'm sure, for some people. Me, at least, it was. So I had my colonoscopy on the 15th of September, which was also coinciding with my daughter's 10th birthday. And that kind of sucked because I thought to myself, am I going to find out I've got cancer on my daughter's 10th birthday? Lo and behold, that is what happened. They had given me all the bowel prep stuff. I did all the bowel prep the night before. I had a split dosage, so the night before and in the morning, and I hated it. It was absolutely disgusting, but I knew I had to drink it all. I was so determined to make sure I did it right so that they knew what was wrong with me. And I went in for my colonoscopy. I was awake. I remember just lying there. It was so painful. It was very, very painful. And lying there looking at my colon, my clean colon, I was so proud of myself. I could see everything. And then it just looked different. It wasn't clean anymore. It looked like the back of a pack of cigarettes. The pictures on the back of the pack of the cigarettes, I saw that and I knew straight away. And I remember lying there, and there was a nurse, his name was Gerard, and he was holding my shoulder and he was holding my hand, and I was staring at the screen just thinking, this is not happening. And I just felt tears just running down my face. That is frozen in time forever, that moment. So Gerard just squeezed my hand, and I just looked up at him and I said, is that cancer? And there was just tears running down my face, and he just looked at me and he said, it's going to be okay, we'll talk about it. And when you're on that medication, you're compliant. And I felt paralyzed, like I felt like I didn't have control over my body, but I used all my energy to just lift my head up and turn and look at him to ask him, because I just wanted clarification that I was seeing what he was seeing. And there were two nurses standing at the end of the bed, and I just remember as I lay back down, their backs were turned towards me and they were sort of doing something, but I don't even remember looking at the guy's face, the surgeon, whoever was doing my colonoscopy. I don't remember his face at all. All I remember is Gerard's face and seeing those two girls, their backs, as they were walking away, because all of those observations for me accumulated to validation of what it was that I was thinking, that it was colon cancer. And so the procedure ended. They did give me some more sedation because it was so friggin' painful, and they had to terminate the procedure, give me some more sedation, and then carry on through to the transverse colon, which is where they did find the tumor. So there was a tumor in my transverse colon. Wait, hold on, let me get the... Okay, I found it. So they found a 30mm colonic mass in my transverse colon and a 15mm polyp in my rectosigmoid. So I had this removed. During the colonoscopy, he didn't remove it, he didn't tattoo it. So I had to go back in last week. No, today is Saturday. I went back in the days ago. We won't get too pedantic about specific dates because, wow, it's too much work for my brain to do. So that brings me up to today. I've had my CT scan as well to see if the cancer's metastasized, and it hasn't, which was, to know the cancer, when I learnt the cancer hadn't metastasized. In fact, after I had my CT scan, that wait to before I saw the surgeon was long. I think it was a week, maybe 2 weeks, but it was excruciatingly painfully long. But once I got into the appointment, I sort of went in there with an optimistic viewpoint, a hope that the cancer hadn't metastasized. I feel like I've so much of life to live, and I know everyone feels like that is young and is diagnosed with a chronic illness or a terminal illness, or they're disabled and they're unable to engage with society as they would like to, and those same people don't have the opportunities that healthier people might have. I want to share my story of my cancer journey, even though it's terrifying to think that I'm going to be divulging all my personal bowel movements and habits with whoever it is that wants to watch. I hope it's people that can find value out of at least what I'm talking about. I hope I can help someone feel less alone. I hope I can learn more about myself and look back at these videos and see how far I've come. I don't know how my life's going to change. We never know how our lives are going to change. I don't expect it to go one way or another. All I can do is hope and do my best with what I've got to educate myself on this disease, to educate myself on Lynch syndrome, and hope that I can help other people along the way. You know, I'm a humanitarian at heart, and when I say that, I don't mean that in the way that you might perceive it. I mean that in the sense that I care about human beings, every human being, even the vile ones, because we live in a world where it's collective. I can't have me without you. Well, I can have me without you, actually. I think still, even today, we correlate colon cancer with older people. And even though we might like to think that we're changing that narrative, it still very much is the narrative that's perpetrated. I just feel like even the doctors, they were telling me I'm too young for colon cancer. To me, that's the narrative I've heard from every young person that's been diagnosed with colon cancer. They've been told, no, you're too young for colon cancer. How many people is it going to take before that narrative is changed and we're screening and listening to people that are of any age, and we're making sure that we have the resources to look after those people once they have been screened? And the reason why we're not screening efficiently and effectively enough is because the health department doesn't have the resources to take care of all the people that they know will be found to have cancer. New Zealand has people dying left, right and centre from cancer. If we're living in a democratic first world country, why is it that we can't find the resources, and why is it that we can't find the money to fund the drugs that are going to save people's lives, yet we are willing to shut down the entire economy because the elderly might catch coronavirus? To me, it seems pretty fucked up. I understand that we all want to live. We have a drive in us to live, a survival mechanism, an innate trait that's carried through our ancestors and it just lives in our DNA. I have the purpose of my children as well as myself to make sure that we're living in a world where people have equal access to well-being, to a good well-being, to a good life. It should be a fundamental. It shouldn't be a negotiable. It shouldn't be something that we're debating about or asking if we have the money. Well, we don't have the money to train those people. We don't have the money to staff that hospital. We don't have the money for that medication. It's absolute bull crap. That is absolutely another reason why I want to document my journey, because I don't know where this is going to take me. I don't know who else in my family is going to be diagnosed with Lynch. I don't know if my children have Lynch. I don't know. There's so many things. There's so many unknowns. That's the scary part, is all the unknowns. But life is about the unknowns. I love that saying, God's laughing while we're making plans. And even though I'm not religious in any sense, I look at the sky while I say that, hoping there's no God. Pascal's wager to just bet on God's existence because it's worthwhile. That's not me. I don't like to come at things with fear. I like to come at things with optimism and hope that it's going to pan out, at least in the sort of vicinity of where I was aiming for, right? So to have the expectation that everything is going to go to plan and going to go my way for the rest of my life is unrealistic, and that's not how I live. That's just not my philosophy anyway. But I know that that's not the case for everyone, and I know that not everyone has access to healthcare like I might. Not everyone has the fortune to have been seen as soon as I was. I know there is a lot of people in New Zealand that wait months and months and months sometimes for a colonoscopy, only to find that the cancer has then metastasized, and by that stage it's just too late, which is the extraordinarily unfortunate part of it all. And I don't want that to happen for anyone else. I don't want that to happen in this world that we're living in, when we have a voice. We have the ability to record a message, put it on the internet and help someone else, and hope that it's going to be a domino effect. It's like letting people in traffic. It doesn't hurt to just let one person in. It's not going to alter too much the time frame at which you're ever going to arrive at your destination. It's a kind gesture that you can do to somebody else so that they're not held up, stuck, waiting to get into a queue forever. So I kind of think about it a little bit like that, and that's why I always encourage conversations, even if they're uncomfortable, because I think it has to start from somewhere. Cats don't fight. So yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that. If it helped you, please comment. I would love to hear your story. I would love to know what you've gone through and what you found interesting about what it is I have to share. And thank you for watching, and thank you for listening. I appreciate it so much. My name is Danielle, and I will talk to you again next time. Bye.